A new rumor has surfaced that an Xbox Series X digital could be on the way, which has me asking the question, why? Obviously, rumors like this have to be taken with a grain of salt, but I want to look at this possibility from a couple of angles, because I do actually think there could be good reason for Microsoft and Xbox to do this, not necessarily something that the consumers are going to care about this far into the generation. So first, we're going to look at the rumor. We're going to look at who said it, because at this point, I do think there is a big difference between genuine insiders like Tom Henderson, who has sources and trustworthy sources of information, and people who just sort of hear things, right? I don't doubt that they hear them. I do. I think that there are people who have, connections and they hear things, but I usually doubt the accuracy of what they have heard, especially in this particular situation. A Series X digital just doesn't seem like it's solving any problems, at least not for the consumer. So second, I want to examine why this actually might be part of the plan, and Phil Spencer had some remarks at the end of the Xbox showcase that's making me think this could be related, and we'll touch on that in a moment. Many people were sort of confused. I was one of those people who was confused as to why your big showstopper at the end of the showcase was a black Series S with a larger hard drive, but in the months after, we sort of learned that the Series S was the main console, and we'll talk a little bit about what that's looked like from a marketing standpoint and why this feels so out of place. Third, this could be, I think, part of what many of us have sensed is that the Series X is being deprioritized. Now, you might be confused. Why would a Series X digital be evidence of deprioritization? Well, I'll talk about that in a moment, but I do think this could be evidence of something internally that Microsoft has decided to do with the Series X as a console. Fourth, I will conclude whether or not I think this is likely, given all the different ways of looking at it. Part of me really feels like in the wake of the PS5 Pro rumors, sort of the insider information, especially because Tom Henderson had reliable information about the Q Lite from PlayStation. Now many people are saying, well, the PS5 Pro has got to be coming. He even says, he can share the specs, and we've kind of broken that down in another video where I talked about, I think the PS5 Pro will be market disruptive. I think it'll be very winsome to developers. But in the wake of that, it feels like people are sort of desperate to come out with something like an answer from Xbox. They want Xbox to have an answer. We're seeing wild theories about an Xbox Series X2 that's just completely pulled out of thin air. We don't have sources, we don't have rumors, leaks, or information to even hint at Xbox doing a mid-gen refresh, a stronger version of the Series X. And this would not be that. This would purely be a digital version of the Series X, no disk drive, which in the wake of PS5 doing that, and the Series X and S being a very different approach to the two models, many wished that Xbox had done that. I myself wish that right now the Series X was just in the market with a digital version of itself and there was no Series S. If you wanted the cheaper option, there would have been one, not all the way down to $300, but $400 is pretty good for how strong the Series X is. Now, according to the loadout.com, Xbox Era podcast host and renowned leaker Special Nick has claimed that Microsoft are currently looking into a digital-only Xbox Series X. So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from Special Nick on Xbox Era podcast. He's also known for claiming that the Gears of War collection remaster, whatever it's called, that is coming. He continues to say that's coming. I kind of thought we were going to hear about that this summer, but that is still continued to be a maybe it's true, maybe it's not rumor, because we haven't had anything confirmed official from Xbox in the way of an announcement. We've not even heard from anybody else really about that. Now, he said more than that. He also said, quote from the loadout, without revealing any more details, the leaker also reports that other Xbox hardware is due in 2025. Now, the claim about 2025 could literally be anything. That could be, who knows what that is. I don't know if that's going to be an answer to the PS5 Pro, which is rumored to be coming late 2024. Maybe a year later, Xbox tries to slap something together that's stronger than the Series X. I don't see that happening, okay? In the current strategy that they've been pushing, that feels way out of place. Series S is getting the focus, cloud's getting the focus, PC's getting the focus. Having a stronger console feels way out of left field for Xbox right now. That's not me bashing them. I'm just kind of reading the marketing, the tea leaves, and their own emphasis. Their own emphasis has been the Series S. So the loadout went on to say that, quote, they also made sure to say that they're not confirming anything and that they're just reporting what they have heard from their own sources. So a rather large pinch of salt is due with this one. This is why I said I'm not doubting that Nick heard stuff. Sure, I don't think you're lying. I don't think you went on a podcast to claim you've heard a bunch of stuff that you haven't heard. It's just the accuracy of what you've heard could be completely off base. It could be about something completely unrelated. We've consistently heard people claim they heard rumors about a PS5 Slim. It is almost assuredly the PlayStation 5 digital that will no longer have the disk drive option available. They're going to unify the SKU down to one model. It might be slightly smaller, but I don't think it's going to be billed as a PS5 Slim. People with actual sources have said, I've not heard anything about that, Tom Henderson being one of those people. So this could be one of those times where you're hearing about something that's completely related to something else entirely. So we have no idea if it's genuine, if it's accurate. So as I said, I want to examine why this might actually be part of the plan, though. I have my own opinion about what this would do and how this would be received from a lot of the consumers, but I could actually see this being part of the plan, and here's why. At the end of the Xbox showcase in June, Phil Spencer closed out the show to announce the new Series S. Now, just before he announced that new Series S with the larger hard drive, he said the following: when it comes to our consoles, we have heard your feedback on two fronts. First, we have significantly increased our supply of Xbox Series X, making it easier for fans to find globally. And then he went on to say, people have also been asking for more storage in the Series S. So from where I sit, a great way to increase supply of the Series X would be to lower your supply costs and lower the cost of the device for people to buy. That would help you increase the supply. It would be easier to make, less parts, less cost, and you could honestly maybe even stop making the version with the disk drive because they didn't prioritize it. It's not in circulation or in saturation as much as the Series S. There's now two versions of the S that you'll be able to buy, end of this year. So Xbox Series X digital could be a way of achieving that goal. This is our way of increasing supply. Keep in mind, this does not alleviate any of the problems facing the Series S as the main console. I see that as a huge problem. For those of us that are disappointed with our Xbox Series X because of the focus on the Series S, a digital version of the X does nothing for us. I could definitely see this playing a part in their ongoing strategy, though. As I said in the opening, this could be the continuation of the Series X being deprioritized. Well, how? That doesn't make any sense, right? If they're going to be making more or making a version that is digital. Well, Microsoft could be essentially saying this internally. Listen, if we're going to keep making those, at least let's reduce cost. Does that make sense? It's like, we don't really want to make Series X's anymore. The focus is the S. They've invested R&D, production lines, and raw materials to the Series S with the larger hard drive. And they may be saying, listen, that's the focus. If we're going to keep making Series X's, at the very least, let's lower costs. Let's get the disk drive out of there. They'll be smaller, lighter. There'll be all those things that benefit production costs, and then you can sell it to the consumer for less money. That could mean long-term, the Series X with a disk drive becomes an incredibly hard model to find. It may even get completely deprecated. They may just stop making it because they don't see the need to have it. It's really easy to talk yourself into this, isn't it? Like, Series S has no disk drive. We just made another Series S with a larger hard drive, no disk drive. If we make a Series X with no disk drive, why would we keep making a model with a disk drive? Like, one of the number one things that fail in a console is the disk drive, and it adds cost, adds parts, adds to the size. So if this is real, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the end goal, is that you'd have 3 boxes to choose from, none of them with disk drives, and again, Series X would probably be the lowest amount of production there. It seems Series S is getting more of that. Now, I'll be honest, if this is true, it feels so late to the party. Everything about Microsoft's approach this gen has been so backwards. They marketed Project Scarlet first in 2019, then the Series X in 2020, then the Series S was like a late surprise in 2020 that seemingly was announced primarily in response to leaks. It was almost like they weren't even going to announce it, which doesn't make any sense. 3 years into the life cycle of this gen, Series S is the main console. It's getting all of the focus, which is backwards compared to what we heard in 2019 and mid-2020 about Project Scarlet and the Series X. So rumors about a digital Series X, it just sounds so backwards, but given how backwards their approach this gen has been, this might actually fit with their approach to the series consoles. So while at one level, I could actually see it even fitting with their current pricing structure, right? $300 for an S, $350 for the larger S, $400 for a digital X. That pricing structure just kind of runs together, okay? But even that feels bizarre. Why wouldn't you just skip doing a larger Series S at $350 and just do the Series X digital at $400? You'd have $300, $400, $500. You'd have that perfect pricing structure. So again, if this is real, it feels out of place. It doesn't make any sense in the grand scheme of what they have been focusing on. And I'll be honest, this feels like gas on a fire. It's clear more and more to Xbox consumers, those of us that are not happy with what the Series S has done this gen, that we're not going to have a strong answer to the PS5 Pro, okay? The PS5 Pro actually doesn't bode well for those of us who feel a giant divide between the two systems, and since we're already unhappy about what the Series S is doing, a digital Series X is just more frustration and more oddity from the approach from Microsoft. A digital Series X feels like such a needless half measure at this point. Again, I could see why they might do it to lower cost and help make good on Phil Spencer's commitment, but I'm landing on this as this is bogus. This is unlikely. Why would they do this? This feels very out of place. It feels way more likely, from where I sit, that Microsoft would just keep increasing Series S saturation while focusing on growing Game Pass and get their footprint larger on PC. So from one angle, again, I can see why they would do this financially, but I could see it being more frustrating to existing Xbox Series console owners than anything. Many Series S owners would have gladly purchased a digital Series X. Many bought the S simply because they could not find anything else. And to come out this late in the gen with a digital version at $400 would be salt in an existing wound. It also doesn't feel like a strong answer to the impending PS5 Pro. So if it does happen, I see it being more irritating to consumers than helpful. But the other angle I see here is that this is unlikely and just another leak to take with a grain of salt, right? I don't think this one lines up. This one doesn't make sense. Now, the new hardware for 2025, like, will there be a mid-gen refresh for Xbox? Many people point to the fact that Phil Spencer said no, that's not something they're planning on doing. He phrased it in a way that gives them the ability to do that at some point. You have to understand something. If right now you did an interview with Jim Ryan and you said, hey, are you doing a PS5 Pro? He would give you a very similar corporate answer. Why? Well, it threatens demand of the current console. They need the PlayStation 5 to sell and sell well all the way up until that announcement. And when they make the announcement about a PS5 Pro, they will pair that with the price drop on the PS5. Well, that allows them to not have to drop the price of the PS5 for as long as possible. Well, Xbox is in a similar situation. They want to sell Series S's, they want to sell the Series S with a larger hard drive, and they want to sell Series X's, even if, especially, they have a digital version coming. So confirming a mid-gen refresh, I think, would be upsetting to that demand. So I don't think we can use Phil Spencer's answer as strong evidence that they won't do one. But I don't think they're going to do one. And the reason I don't think they're going to do one is it doesn't fit with their current strategy. What benefit would there be to suddenly having a stronger Xbox Series X on the market? What? Most of your console user base is on the Series S. Every game that comes out has to focus on that system first. It has to run well there. All of your first-party titles, whether it's Hellblade, Fable, or even Starfield, you gotta make sure everything's running well on the Series S first. Adding another console on top of the Series X would even further complicate things. They don't seem bent on pushing next-gen power. They seem bent on pushing their ecosystem. And a stronger mid-gen refresh doesn't really push that envelope forward. In fact, they're targeting an audience and a consumer base that's looking for low entrance cost, and that's totally fine. Lower entrance cost on the console and lower entrance cost to gaming with Game Pass. A really expensive $600 mid-gen stronger Xbox just doesn't line up with everything they've done this far this generation. So from where I sit, the last thing Xbox needs is another Xbox in production and in the stores. So these videos usually roll over into a members-only debrief. Would love to hear what you have to say, so consider clicking join. It's $5. You get into all my extra content for the entire month, and it's only the $5. Now, if you're not going to do a membership and you don't want to miss out on the content, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.